With the recent premiere of the highly anticipated Maul Shadow Lord, there is no better time to take a look at some ships for criminal syndicate leaders like him. Let's get right into it. I'm Joey from Radio Free Coruscant, and these are the best ships for crime lords in Star Wars. Baudo-class. First up is the Baudo-class star yacht, one of the sleekest and most beautiful yacht models on the market. There isn't really a defined set of characteristics that make a ship good for use by crime lords like there are for other groups, but generally speaking you probably want something expensive and fancy to flaunt your power, with good defenses and some amount of passenger capacity to entertain guests such as rival crime lords or potential customers. Beyond that, though, it really depends on the size of your crime syndicate, the way you lead the organization, and your personal taste. Known crime lord ships range from tiny, heavily armed gunships to enormous luxury yachts, so really anything goes as long as it suits your needs. But the first potential option that I would like to bring to your attention is the Baudo-class star yacht. Each of these vessels were built to order and handcrafted by Mendel Baudo shipyards. Most, though not all, Baudo yachts followed the same basic template, but the specific furnishings and equipment could be chosen by the customer. This flexibility would make it perfect for a crime lord, as you could order yours to fit your specific leadership style. If you prefer to lay back and let your minions do all the work, you could get stealth systems and the finest furnishings imaginable. Or if you would rather lead by example and get your own hands dirty, you could order it with additional weapons. The possibilities for the Baudo-class are essentially endless. However, because of this incredible customizability, getting your hands on a Baudo yacht is a little bit trickier than most other comparable vessels. Baudo yachts can take up to a year to build and require a referral by an existing Baudo customer to even order one. Fortunately, this shouldn't be a problem for crime lords, as by the very nature of the job they tend to be very well connected. If you don't know someone who has a Baudo yacht and owes you a favor, or at least someone who knows someone else who has one, you probably can't really call yourself a crime lord in the first place, just a low-level mob boss. The Baudo-class yacht measured 32 meters long by about 21 meters wide and 7 meters tall. It had a Class 2 hyperdrive by default, though like all of its stats, this could be changed by the customer. It also had a top atmospheric speed of 1200 km per hour and was armed with a single laser cannon. The ship was very simple to fly, requiring only a pilot and an optional co-pilot or engineer, and it could carry 8 passengers, 35 tons of cargo, and 1 month of consumables. The base model Baudo yacht came in at a fairly substantial price tag of 400,000 credits, though that could surely be made more or less expensive depending on the customer's choices. And of course, it could be bought on the second-hand market as well for an average price of 250,000 credits. C-ROC Gozanti. Look, I know it's cliché for this channel to cover the Gozanti, but hear me out. It fit perfectly in the size range I was looking for the number 2 slot, and it's a very powerful ship for its size. For crime lords looking for something a little bit more utilitarian, the Corellian Engineering Corporation Configuration Restored Operational Capacity Gozanti Cruiser Upfit would be your best bet. These ships could be purchased directly from CEC, or a licensed mechanic could upgrade a standard civilian Gozanti to a C-ROC Gozanti for an unknown fee. The C-ROC was slightly larger than the standard Gozanti, and more capable in virtually every way. Faster, more cargo capacity, more passenger capacity, and far better armed. It was popular with many crime bosses, and would be perfect for a crime lord as well, with a few upgrades. I would make sure to get the Corsair refit to maximize the ship's weaponry, and install enhanced communications equipment and passive stealth systems to ensure you can always see whoever you want, but not be seen by anyone you don't. This ship would be a good vessel for a new crime lord to grow into. As the kind of ship used by criminal organizations at large, you may already have one for smuggling or other jobs before becoming a crime lord. Then, when you work your way to the top of your particular syndicate or split off to make your own, you modify the ship to reflect your new role. Better equipment, nicer passenger quarters, etc. Keep upgrading it as your status as a crime lord increases, until you eventually outgrow it and upgrade to one of the other ships on this list. The C-ROC measured 73.9 meters long by about 27 meters wide and 21 meters tall. It had a fantastic top atmospheric speed of 1,200 kilometers per hour, but only a Class 3 hyperdrive. It was fairly heavily armed with 2 quad laser cannon turrets and 4 retractable twin heavy laser cannons, and the Corsair refit added additional turrets, fixed cannons, and ordnance tubes, plus a stronger reactor to power all that. The C-ROC could also be modified to carry starfighters on external docking clamps like those of the Imperial Gozanti cruiser. These were typically M3A Psyche interceptors, but you could probably customize it to fit other types of starfighters instead. The ship required a crew of 12, a pilot, co-pilot, engineer, comms and sensor operator, 2 loadmasters, and 6 gunners. It could carry 20 passengers by default, but could be modified to carry hundreds if preferred. It could also carry 4,000 tons of cargo and 2 months of consumables. All of that came in at a cost of just 190,000 credits, a bit less than the Imperial model, and a bit more than the original civilian model. It could probably be bought used for around half that price, or be upgraded from an original Gozanti for less yet. Regardless of which way you bought it, it was still a fantastic deal, no matter what. Nau'ur-class yacht. Normally, I don't cover ships that are famous for being used by the subject of a list video in that list video. For example, it would be a big waste of both my time and yours for me to tell you that a YT-1300 light freighter would be a good ship for smugglers. Everyone knows that already. We saw that in this niche indie film from the 70s called Star Wars. You may have heard of it. However, in the case of the Kalevala Spaceworks Nau'ur-class yacht, the reasons the ship would be good for crime lords aren't limited to just what we can see Dryden Voss do with his on screen, so it was worth bringing up anyway. For starters, there were at least 2 distinct models of Nau'ur out there, the First Light type and the Coronet type, each with a completely different hull design and capabilities. I personally think that this indicates that the ship can be fully customized to its customers' preferences like the Baudo yacht can be, though its remarkably low price tag potentially indicates otherwise. If true, though, this would be exceptionally useful for a crime lord, allowing you to perfectly align it to your leadership style as discussed for the Baudo. More laid-back lords like Voss could purchase one set up for lavish parties, while a more hands-on leader like his successor Kira could order it with heavier weapons, armor, and shields. But even if it was only available as is in the 2 different configurations, it still would have been fairly flexible. The First Light type was decently well-armed and highly luxurious, while the Coronet type could carry hundreds of passengers, and would have a lot more room to convert into whatever kind of facilities you would like to bring with you wherever you go. The First Light type Nau'ur measured about 153 meters tall by 18 meters wide and 41 meters long. Its top atmospheric speed was probably around 750 kilometers per hour, and it had a Class 2 hyperdrive. It was armed with 2 retractable quad laser cannon turrets, and required 5 flight crew, plus an unknown number of passenger attendants and other staff. It could carry 40 passengers, 6 months of consumables, and around 20 tons of cargo. This version of the ship came in at a shockingly affordable price for its size of 850,000 credits. The Coronet type was slightly larger at 216 meters tall and probably at least 75 to 100 meters long and 50 meters wide. It also had a Class 2 hyperdrive and a fairly low atmospheric speed like the First Light type, and was armed with laser cannons and ion cannons. This version of the ship required 75 crew and could carry around 1,000 passengers, and probably 1,000 tons of cargo as well. I would have to assume the Coronet type to be more expensive than the First Light type given its larger size, probably at least 1 to 2 million credits. Hardcell. One ship I have been looking for an excuse to cover for a long time is the Techno-Union Hardcell-class interstellar transport. The Hardcell is not really a ship that approaches the top 5 of any reasonable category you could put it in, but I think the qualities that make it kind of bad for most roles would actually make a pretty good headquarters or personal transport for a crime lord. The Hardcell-class was a transport used by the Techno-Union and Intergalactic Banking Clan before, and to a lesser extent during, the Clone Wars. It was mostly used for carrying Hailfire-class droid tanks, battle droids, and supplies, but its stylish and unusual design also made it a bit of a status symbol among Techno-Union officials. Hardcells were equipped with advanced sensors and secure communications equipment for their Techno-Union owners to stay in touch with the Interstellar Stock Exchange, and no doubt do a bit of insider trading before deploying the troops the ship carried. Even the foreman of the Techno-Union himself, Wat Tambor, had a customized Hardcell as a personal transport. His ship was outfitted with a more powerful shield generator and special internal sensors to sweep the vessel for tracking beacons and listening devices to protect him from spies and assassins. A crime lord using the Hardcell, or any ship for that matter, would almost certainly want a system like this on theirs. I have no doubt that Tambor's Hardcell was probably outfitted for comfort rather than cargo capacity as well, with meeting rooms, luxury suites, and more. This would be a good idea for you too, though you should retain at least some of the storage space for crime lord duties. I guess it just depends on how hands-on you are in your crime syndicate and what you plan to use the ship for. Either way though, the most important quality a crime lord ship can have is how good it is at aura farming, and I think the Hardcell would excel at this. It was a highly unusual ship for its time because it was oriented vertically like an old-fashioned rocket ship, rather than horizontally like most other ships. It also took off and landed vertically as well due to this design and its lack of repulsor lifts, allowing you to make an extremely dramatic entrance or exit when dealing with your rivals, customers, or other people you wish to intimidate. And even when parked, seeing such a tall ship towering over them as they come to visit your office could strike fear into the hearts of friends and foes alike. Give yours a stylish paint job to match its Art Deco-esque hull design, and you could make it into an unforgettable crime lord flagship. The Hardcell class measured 220 meters tall by about 100 meters in diameter in flight, or 250 meters tall and 115 meters in diameter with the landing gear deployed. It had a Class 1 hyperdrive and a top atmospheric speed of 800 km per hour vertically, or 4,000 km per hour in level flight. The ship was fairly lightly armed with just 3 turbolaser cannons, 2 laser cannon batteries, and 2 assault concussion missile tubes, but there was also a battle refit model with an unknown heavier weapons loadout that you could look to for upgrade inspiration. Well, you could if we knew what weapons it had, anyway. The Hardcell required a crew of 190 personnel. It could carry 1,017 passengers, including its battle droids, as well as 650 IG-227 Hailfire-class droid tanks, 6 months of consumables, and 12,400 tons of cargo. The price of the Hardcell has never been disclosed to the general public, as it was only available within the Techno-Union. Outside estimates place it at around 2.5 million credits. However, to get one as a crime lord, you would need to either start out as a prominent Techno-Union executive, capture one and steal his Hardcell, or recover one from a scrapyard after the Clone Wars. None of these should be too difficult for a crime lord, but it is worth keeping in mind. Casino Cruiser. And finally, one of the best ships for crime lords in Star Wars is one that we don't know a whole lot about, the Gallifrey Yard's Morenia-type Casino Cruiser. We know essentially nothing about this class of ship, including if there is even more than one in existence, but we don't really know much about any other type of casino cruiser either, so we may as well focus on the coolest looking one. Mobsters and crime lords tend to love gambling, so what better place to put your crime syndicate headquarters than in a casino? And why use a stationary casino like those of Canto Bight or Nar Shaddaa when you can have it on a spaceship? The Morenia-type casino cruiser is by far the most stylish and capable of these, not that there are too many other options out there to give it competition. It was very large and had an enormous hangar to house guests' ships. You could also keep a few defensive starfighters in there, and a personal shuttle for visiting a planet's surface, as the Morenia appeared to be unarmed and was likely incapable of landing, like many other ships its size. The large size of the Morenia also meant that it would be capable of holding thousands of passengers, generating tons of passive income for your crime syndicate at dozens of sabacc tables and other gambling stations. The ship was also capable of staying in hyperspace for a long time, with a long range and large fuel tanks. The type's namesake, the Morenia itself, used this ability to hide from the Empire, and you could easily do the same. Finally, its hull was described as being double reinforced, which is not a term I believe I've heard before, but I assume it means it is very heavily armored for a civilian ship. Probably to protect it from pirates who wish to steal the millions of credits stored on board. The Morenia type would not be without its drawbacks, though. We don't know if they built more than one, so you may simply not be able to get one at all, though you could certainly replace it with one of the other couple types of casino cruiser, or just build a casino in a normal passenger liner instead, if so. More importantly, though, it was the final ship built by Gallifrey Yards before they declared bankruptcy, meaning that replacement parts and maintenance services would probably be even more scarce than on ordinary Gallifrey Yards products. Gallifrey ships seem to be pretty hit or miss in terms of reliability, so making one of these your crime syndicate flagship would be a pretty big risk. But if you're looking into a casino ship, risk is probably your thing anyway, so consider taking a chance on this one. It would almost certainly be worth the gamble. There are no publicly available stats for the Gallifrey Casino Cruiser, but we can estimate most of them pretty easily. I calculate its size to be somewhere around 670 meters long by 190 meters wide and 160 meters tall, though my confidence in that figure is low and it could easily be as small as 500 meters long or as large as 800. It's hard to tell. Still huge no matter what, though. Such a large ship would be fairly slow, perhaps 750 kilometers per hour with a Class 3 hyperdrive. It would also require a relatively large crew, probably a few hundred to 1,000, including pilots, engineers, casino staff, housekeeping, etc. It could be highly automated if preferred, though. The Morenia itself was. At some point in the ship's history, a protocol droid aboard was ordered to find a way to increase the ship's profits, which she achieved by throwing its captain and nearly all its organic crew out the airlocks and replacing them with droids like herself. So I guess there's always that option. The Morenia type was unarmed as far as I can tell, but you could certainly sacrifice some passenger suites and install retractable turbolaser turrets if desired. It had an enormous hangar bay that could carry 1 or 2 squadrons of starfighters as well. It could also hold dozens of freighters and shuttles, and the main entrance area of the docking bay was even large enough to hypothetically dock ships as large as a CR-90 corvette, though I'm not sure if that would actually work very well in practice. The ship could likely carry around 10,000 passengers, 1,000 tons of cargo, and 1 year of consumables, though that is nothing but a guess on my part. Finally, a ship like this surely wouldn't come cheap, and I would guess it to be around 15 million credits new or 7 million used. And those are 5 of the best ships for crime lords in Star Wars. Let me know which of these you would choose, or what else you would have included instead. I'd also love to know what you think of Maul Shadow Lord so far. As of writing this, I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but they were phenomenal, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. RFC, out.